Hi, welcome to the Howling Hour podcast. I'm your host, Chris Staten. You can find me on Twitter at pilgrim_NE, and you can find the show on Twitter and Instagram at the Howling Hour _. And now also on YouTube. Today, I'm bringing back Colby Carrera.
Hi, guys.
And we are going to be talking about the 2011 Canadian found footage horror movie, Grave Encounters. Directed by the Vicious Brothers, starring Sean Rogerson, Ashley Grisco, Mackenzie Gray, Juan Reidinger, Merwin Mondesir, and Matthew K. McBride. And so we saw this movie probably about, not when it came out, because this came out in 2011. We probably saw it in like 2013. Yeah. Because it was on Netflix, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because I lived with Colby for a little while during college, and so one thing that we would do often is watch horror movies, and this is one that we had stumbled upon and really enjoyed it. And then it was also the sequel had come out around the same time, because the sequel came out in 2012. And so it was kind of, I think we saw Grave Encounters, and then maybe a little bit later we were like, oh, there's another one? Yeah, and we liked the second one too. Right, we liked both movies. Although on its face the sequel not that good. No, I love the sequel. I love the sequel though. I love it so much. What's the actor from the sequel?
Oh, he's in the 100.
Because he's in the 100.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's a great actor. Yeah, I love, because that was very much like an early role for him. And he was great. And then even the guy who plays the friend in that movie ended up he was in oh my god, I think he's in, what's the Canadian comedy show about the small town? It starts with a K. Oh my god.
It's not Letterkenny.
Letterkenny. Yes, it's Letterkenny. He's in Letterkenny. I think he plays
Dylan Playfair. Okay. Is his name. And Richard Harmon's who we're talking about.
Okay.
The guy from the 100.
Yeah, because he plays one of the hockey bros in Letterkenny. Also a great show. But anyway, the original Grave Encounters, I think it hit with us so much because we were very much into the ghost hunting around that time.
That was
we would,
because
we had talked about this in our episode on the Bridgewater Triangle. But like your family's house kind of nestled into Wampanoag Swamp. Notorious quote-unquote haunted territory of the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts. And there were times we would go into different parts of your house to do little ghost hunts. And I lived in the it was originally your bedroom growing up. It was the spare bedroom when I was living there. That room would get very cold at like 3 a.m. like every night. Fucking weird. But yeah, we were very much into the ghost hunting, and I grew up. I watched Taps,
Ghost Adventures,
the Ghost Adventures, which is very much exactly what Lance Preston's character is based off of Zach Baggins. Yeah,
they nail it.
It's because it always starts off with the intro. It's just like growing up. I think Zach Baggins is like something about his grandmother, right? It's
he
my grandmother
didn't
died.
believe in the paranormal, and then he had a grave experience or something.
The Ghost Adventures guys, they blew up because they had like the movie where they were out in kind of like that kind of ghost town.
Was it like Las Vegas or something?
It was out somewhere around there. I think it was kind of like this a deserted. Yeah,
location. They had the one clip where the brick flies that was really creepy. I think that really kicked off. Everything.
There was also they had like the form. Kind of like a ghostly form moving in front of the camera at one point. Like that was like what kind of jettisoned them into the series. But that's kind of what like a lot. And there's been so many of those shows that have come out since then. You see them on like the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, they still run.
Sci-fi. Because it's something that people are very interested in, and it seems something that anyone can get into.
Right.
Like all you need is the equipment.
To entry.
Yeah, it's not. It really isn't. I remember we would go to Johnny and Derek's apartment that one time, and we all had like the EVP apps on our phones.
Yeah, and they just randomly like ping like.
They would ping like shovel.
Adult. Oh no,
it's an adult.
It's an adult.
It's an adult, guys.
It's an adult with a shovel. We're done.
But like growing up in New England and Massachusetts, it's so many buildings are old, so it's so easy to just like walk up and be like, "This might be a ghost." Look, we went to Connor's attic.
Yeah,
and we had set up like the laptop recording and the flashlight with the batteries.
Trick, where you like unscrew the flashlight a little bit and it'll come on and off.
That was very much all fun, all in good fun. Never really took it seriously. There's only the one time that I was really spooked, and that was when we were in high school. When that was still, I don't think that was your bedroom anymore. I think that was just the guest bedroom. The one where back when we only had flip phones, and I pulled out with the flash, and there was like mist. It was like fog in the room on the photo. It was fucking weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
I put that in my senior scrapbook for my senior English class. That was like one of the stories I told, because that was from the summer. That was the previous summer. So that was the summer between junior and senior year.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say when you heard me say your name, but when I heard you say my name, that was
God.
Good.
Yeah, that was. Go listen to the Bridgewater Triangle episode, because we go into so many of these stories about our own kind of weird. There's not a lot. Maybe like I'd say two to three like instances of being like,
Yeah,
that's kind of weird. That's kind of fucked. I don't really have an explanation for that.
Exactly, not a real explanation for it.
But Grave Encounters styles itself in Grave Encounters, the show within the movie Grave Encounters, styles itself as one of those ghost hunting shows. The movie that we watch is basically their sixth episode 6, and I love in this movie that you get to see the quote unquote behind the scenes of it, where like at one point Lance pays like one of the the groundskeeper guys who had just started working there. He pays him $20 to say that he saw a ghost.
I love it.
And it's so funny. The guy's just like, I saw a ghost
right
over there.
Yeah, right over there.
It was very scary.
So good. It makes you wonder, like, how often does stuff like that probably happen when they're filming those TV shows? Yeah. You like to think it doesn't, but it probably does.
Yeah, but once you get up like on a network and like because Lance asked Sasha, it's just like, how much petty cash do we have left? Yeah. So like once you at a certain point, like you can you get to create narratives. As long as you have all the pieces and the money for it, you can kind of tell whatever story you want to tell.
Right.
So they. The sixth episode takes place at the calling fields or something like. I'll say it when I go into the plot of the movie. But I love they walk up to it, right, and it says "Death Awaits" on the door,
so good.
And someone, I think it was like Matt or maybe it was TC, is just like so cheesy.
Yeah.
It's just like, which I love. Like, you got to be able to, when you're making a movie you're not making it on a whole lot of money, being able to kind of incorporate the kind of like lack of a budget into it as a joke is pretty fun.
They do a great job of that, like not taking itself too serious at the beginning.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It very much pokes fun at itself in the first half of the movie.
And I think that's what makes it so much scarier. Is that like when stuff finally does go wrong, the characters are like, all right, this isn't funny anymore. Like,
and that's what takes so long. Like, people are off on their own. But even then, like at a certain point, like stuff starts happening, and they're still just like, "What's that?" Like, "Hey, stop fucking with me." Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. Like after the point where like Sasha has like her hair removed, and that's like a super big like that was very obviously supernatural. They're all freaked out, and then like at a certain point, they're all like TC's off by himself, and that's when eventually he gets pushed down the stairs or falls down the stairs or whatever. And he's like he's freaking out. He's like, "Don't fuck with me! Don't fuck with me!" And it's just like, dude, do you think someone's fucking with you right now? Right. Like. Because even still, there's like a while they think there might be people in the building, fucking with them, and it's just like, nope. This is obviously this is what you came for.
Yeah, this is exactly what you signed up for.
This is literally But yeah, actually, I think we should probably I'll just say so. This movie was shot very quickly. It was done over the course of 10 nights and 2 days.
Wow, I didn't know that.
To get the whole movie done, which makes sense because they really don't have to do a whole lot in this movie. They're walking around in the hallways. There's really not. They're just acting for the most part.
Right.
Like there's not like we have a couple of the demons, the ghostly demons that show up. which the directors wanted to do. They wanted to kind of do a different kind of found footage as opposed to like everything else, like Blair Witch or something, where you never see anything. And so they were just like, well, how about you see them and they run at you. Yeah. Like, how crazy is that? And which is bold to do on the budget that they had. Because even then, like, I will say, like, the movie ends up relying on like the video glitching and cutting to like there's a lot of like those high screeches to like amplify the horror of the moment. But I always hate that shit. Always hate that shit.
It always looks cheesy. Even if you have a really good budget, it still comes off pretty cheesy.
Yeah, and it's like they had the archival footage of what the hospital was like in like back in like the 30s or something, and it's like black and white and it's supposed to be grainy, but you can tell it's still just shot on a very nice camera.
It looks like an Instagram filter, like an old Instagram filter.
And everyone just looks like they've had like makeup applied to like their faces, like they have like black circles under their eyes, and it looks like someone just took a paintbrush. But anyway, let's move into. I'll go quickly through the plot of this movie. So, Jerry Hartfield is the producer of Grave Encounters, a paranormal reality television program directed by ghost hunter Lance Preston. Hartfield explains that the show is canceled after 5 episodes following the disappearance of its crew and presents raw scenes from recovered footage of the 6th and final episode. The Grave Encounters crew consists of Lance, occult specialist Sasha Parker, surveillance operator Matt White, cameraman T.C. Gibson, and fake medium Houston Gray. The crew is invited to examine the abandoned Collingwood Psychiatric Hospital, where unexplained phenomena have been reported for years. Kenny, the hospital's caretaker, takes the crew on a day tour and informs them of the hospital's history, particularly of a doctor named Arthur Friedkin, who performed unethical experiments and lobotomies on the hospital's patients before being killed by them. The crew lock themselves inside the hospital for the night and begin their investigation, setting up camp near the main entrance and positioning static cameras throughout the building. No paranormal activity seems to occur within the first few hours until TC captures a door slamming behind him. The crew attempts to establish contact with any entities that might be in the hospital. They soon hear unexplained sounds, and Sasha's hair appears to be lifted into the air by an unseen force. They return downstairs to pack in preparation for Kenny's return. Matt sits out alone to retrieve the static cameras. Before Matt can retrieve the last camera, a loud banging noise grabs Matt's attention, and he walks off to investigate it. When neither Matt nor Kenny returns, the crew forces the front doors open, but discover that it leads to another hallway. They aimlessly walk the hallways and realize that despite their clock saying it's dawn, it is still dark outside. The crew return to the lobby and sleep, but are awoken when the construction light they set up falls forward and breaks. TC tells Lance that there is a fire escape on the roof, and they head off to find a stairwell with rooftop access. They are successful, but find that the stairs are blocked off by a randomly built wall blocking their escape. They decide to backtrack, and while looking at a map on the wall, the arrows on their compass spin in random directions. The group hear what sounds like Matt screaming and run through the halls hoping to find him. Once they find the room where they heard Matt's screams, they encounter a metal bed frame that levitates into the air, and they run in terror. The crew stops to rest, and when they wake up, they find the word hello scratched onto Sasha's back. They once again go looking for Matt after hearing his voice on the walkie-talkie. The group comes across a woman in a hospital gown, and when they catch up with her, her face distorts grotesquely. They flee from the entity in fear, and Houston is separated from the other crew members. Houston wanders the hallways in the darkness and is then lifted into the air and choked before a bright light bursts from the end of the hallway, which sends Houston flying and kills him. After hiding in a room for several hours, Lance, Sasha, and TC discover that they have been fitted with hospital identification bracelets bearing their names. The trio roam the halls again, and an arm smashes through the window and a door and grabs Sasha. Lance frees her, and when they run down the hallways. While Lance comforts Sasha, TC yells at them to come into a room which Matt is sitting in. Matt, wearing a hospital gown and now insane, mumbles incoherently and claims that they can leave the building once they are better. The four rest inside a room, and when they wake up, several hands are reaching through the ceiling and walls. The group flee into a room full of bathtubs and find Matt staring down at a bathtub full of blood. TC attempts to pull Matt away from the tub, but a figure emerges from the blood and drags TC into it. Sasha and Lance tip the tub over, but TC is not inside it, which causes Sasha and Matt to become hysterical. Lance finds an elevator, but struggles to pull the doors open. He leaves Sasha and Matt behind to look for something to pry the doors open. Lance yanks a rod off a hospital cart and notices a bloody, severed tongue in the corner of the room. Lance then sees a ghostly figure huddled up in the corner of the ceiling, which chases after him. Lance makes it back to Sasha and Matt and successfully tries to opening the elevator doors. He hears the figure making its way to them, so Lance and Sasha keep the entity at bay by keeping the door closed. While the two are busy, Matt leans forward and plunges several feet down the elevator shaft, killing himself. Lance and Sasha enter the tunnels beneath the building in search of an exit. Sasha falls ill and begins to cough up blood violently. The two stop to sleep, and Sasha is abducted by a mist. Lance, now all by himself, wanders the tunnels for several hours. An increasingly unstable Lance wanders the tunnels alone and feeds on live rats to survive. Lance passes out and after waking up, finds a door leading into Friedkin's operating room, which contains evidence of occult rituals and graphic photos of his operations. He sees apparitions of Friedkin and several nurses, and is dragged away from his camera. A lobotomized Lance records himself proclaiming that he is cured and allowed to leave. The end.
Lance Preston signing off.
This is Lance Preston signing off. One question I have about the movie is so a large part of it is predicated on this. Friedkin, this doctor, is evil and occult. As we see at the end, there's a bunch of occult shit down in this random room. And seems to kind of he's the one in control, it seems. Which is weird to me because you got the patients, there are patients that killed him, right. And then he still exists in the hospital as an entity and he seems to be in charge, but then you still also have these patient ghosts that also seem to be all fucked up and killing people. Around, and Matt says, we can all leave as soon as we're better. And everyone has the hospital bands. They're patients. But in the end, Lance is the only one who lives.
Right.
If the end goal is to basically abduct everybody and perform an experiment, lobotomize them, then why don't we see that? Why do people get killed? Houston doesn't even make it to the hospital band part. Houston gets blown up by a random flash of light in a hallway.
Houston is probably the corniest character.
His character is so fucking funny.
I love him. I love when he actually gets scared and he's gets pissed off.
Yeah.
All right, stop fucking with us.
Yeah, it's so funny because he's in the hallway that has the only static camera that's left, and he's walking away from it, and it's not until he's very far down the end of the hall that then he's lifted up. Yeah, because you can't do that effect too close to the camera because you can tell how fake it is. Yeah, and then so he's choked for a little while, and then the entity gets bored and drops him. And then it shoots him across the hall with this big energy blast. And I'm just what is that? What are you doing here? Everything else is very visceral, violent, physical, and then that was just a purely supernatural kill.
Right. Yeah, it is weird. It seems like they lobotomized Matt. Right? It seems like because he's out of it. He's all fucked. And then he ends up just deciding to kill himself. But you're right. Sasha just disappears.
She gets abducted by Mist.
She gets abducted.
Where is she?
Which, I forget where I saw it, but somebody had thought that was supposed to be almost like a metaphor for Lance losing his mind. Where, he's slowly, when they get the hospital tags, they're checked in as patients because they don't know the difference between reality and what is going on in their heads. And then Sasha just disappears. It's supposed to be the clouding of his mind. But reality, who the hell knows? Her fate's never talked about after that.
Yeah.
Even in the sequel, they don't mention.
Yeah, the only one that's in the sequel is Lance.
It's Lance. Yeah. But TC, he probably has, I think, the coolest death out of everybody, where he gets brought into the bathtub and then they flip it over and he's just gone.
That's actually fucked. That's very scary.
That's a great. They did that perfectly too.
And I love the cameras on the floor facing away, and so you just hear them tipping it, and then all the blood rushes in front of the camera, and then they pick it up, and he's gone, and everyone's freaking out. And that's very good. That was a very good scene. That's probably my favorite death in the whole movie, and I do like that. In the beginning of the movie, we see all this. We get the story on everything, and then we see it all play out as the movie goes on. There's good connective tissue there. Yeah, I love TC as a character.
Me too.
TC too. Like, he gets the phone call from his wife.
Yeah.
Talks to his daughter.
Yeah, about how there's no monsters.
Yeah.
When in reality, he's basically surrounded by monsters and doesn't know it.
And like he doesn't fuck around.
Yeah.
He's just like, nope. Because like once he's had his limit, he's going back, and he's like, I'm not waiting for Kenny.
Yeah.
Where's Kenny, man? And he starts like ramming the door open.
Yeah.
Like, he's very much like, not gonna sit around, not gonna just wait for something to happen. He wants to be doing something.
Right.
And I do like for Lance as the movie goes on, like, Lance very much, is in charge and takes control and makes decisions and is he's the hardest to break.
Right.
Out of all of them. Which I think is what Friedkin, the spirit of Friedkin wants for everyone. He wants to break them all, so that way he wants to make them crazy, so that way he has a reason to fix them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And like Lance for the longest time was like, we got to keep going, got to keep moving. Have a sip of water. Can't give up.
Right.
Got to keep going. And then, because even in the end, we have like the scene, which I find it a little unnecessary, when he has like the iron bar and he smashes the rat.
Oh yeah.
And he's fucking just goes on it, and I'm just like, that's a little much.
Right.
But it shows like he is not going to give in.
Right.
He's going to keep walking. But then he wakes, and then he's completely fucked in the head, and he wakes up. He's like, there's a door.
Yeah.
There's a door.
He's lost it.
And he completely has lost it. But I also don't get, so he's in the sequel. But in this movie, we have this movie in universe because all that footage was recovered, which means people were able to get into the building and get the footage.
Right.
So no one ever saw Lance.
Oh.
No, like the building definitely got swept because 5 or 6 people went missing.
Right.
No one ever saw Lance. And also, wouldn't at the end there, you know that Lance was alive?
Yeah, because it doesn't show him dying.
It doesn't show him dying. He says he's cured.
You would have an idea.
He can leave.
I think it's suggested though that the building can change, right? Like,
yeah, the building like maze is very maze-like and changes.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more powerful scenes too. Is when they finally they give up on waiting for Kenny and they're like, let's just get out of here.
The doors.
They bust open. It's just a hallway. That would be my breaking point. But all right, it's over for us, guys.
Yeah, well, seriously, that's what. Well, the one thing that like pissed me off is like they come up to that window that had like the metal grate over it, like a rusty metal grate, and there's like, we gotta find something, and then they just give up on that idea. It's like, no, that's what you do. Go get something metal and start fucking just like prying this shit off, and then like break your leg jumping out.
Yeah, exactly. Better break your leg than die in here.
Seriously, like. I feel like that was just a little too early.
Yeah.
In the breaking down of the situation, so like, they didn't want to go that far yet. But yeah, I love like they're standing at like the door, and it's it says exit, and on the other side it says emergency exit.
Yeah.
And it's just like this the one long hallway, and then they're looking at the map of the hospital, and it says you are here, but it's like, no, we're on the first floor. We can't be here.
We can't be at this location.
And then the compass is going all over the place. So that's crazy. Yeah, because then they're trapped in the supernatural world, which was like, because it's not just the ghosts. It's not just ghosts in a location. The location itself is haunted.
Right.
Has a supernatural shit embedded in its walls, right? You have like the insane patient who had like all the writings on the inside of his room. It's like the building has been ingrained with the supernatural energy, which I like. You don't always see that, in a movie. Very rarely do you have like a building that's like fucking with people. Right. Just as a building. It's not some. There is people. Sentient. Ghostly entities that are doing their own shit, and then you also have the buildings also fucking with them. It's just a lot, and it works pretty well. And it was so funny because I kept confusing this with the sequel.
Me too. Yeah.
One of the scenes when Matt's upstairs in the window room.
Yeah, you thought I
thought I was gonna get thrown out the window.
I thought that was.
Dude, I was so because in my mind I'm like, I know he falls to his death.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was because he went out the window.
Yeah, but it's in the sequel. No, it's happens, yeah.
So funny. Spoilers for the sequel, I guess.
Yeah, that's literally exactly what I thought when I was watching it again. I'm like, wait, when does he get thrown out the window? And I had to look it up. I'm like, oh, he doesn't. It's another freaking movie.
Which is funny, right? Because you would expect, because that is one of the things that's not foretold or anything, but it's previewed when Kenny is giving them the tour, and it's just like, yeah, sometimes this window's open.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't really end up being a thing.
Yeah, until the sequel, I guess.
Which is funny. Which is why I like the sequel.
Yeah. The sequel I think the sequel explores a couple of the things that the viewers might have had for questions. Like, why didn't they just try to go out the second story? Yeah. Oh, well, they do. They get thrown to their death. It's higher than you think.
Yeah. It really does. Because there's lore here. There is a mythos in place. And it's hard to really put your finger on it to fully explain it in just one watching of the movie. And the sequel does try to provide answers. Maybe they're not completely adequate answers, but there are some answers there. But I do like the team dynamics across the board. I thought the acting in this movie was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
for good. Something that's relatively on the smaller side budget wise. This is the only thing that Sasha's actor has been in.
I think they play off that too in the sequel, right? I think they pull up the IMDb.
Oh yeah, this is the only credit.
Look, they haven't been in anything else. Kind of breaking the fourth wall.
It's so funny.
The main actor, what's his name? Sean
Rogerson.
Rogerson. I believe he was in Supernatural for a couple episodes. Because I feel like after we watched Grave Encounters, I saw him playing a sheriff or a police officer in Supernatural.
Let me see. He was in Psych, actually, so I watch a lot of Psych. He was also in Fringe, Smallville. That was actually all before Grave Encounters. He only did one more thing since Grave Encounters 2, which was some random movie. Supernatural, 2007, House of the Holy Man.
Yeah, because I think I remember after I watched Grave Encounters, I had saw on TV an episode of him just getting, I think he's half the Supernatural episodes open up with someone dying to show the entity. I think he's the person that ends up dying.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of kind of actually supernatural kind of shows attached to him on here. He's got Dead Zone, Underworld Evolution, Stargate Atlantis, Blood Ties, Supernatural, Fringe, Smallville. So he's got some stuff on here, but he hasn't been anything in 2013.
He does a good job, especially for this role. He did an awesome job. He seemed like you could have taken him out and put Zach Baggins.
Yeah, he must have watched hours and hours of Ghost Adventures to get it down.
Out of all the ghost hunting shows you watch, which one's your favorite?
Out of all, I really like Taps.
Is that Ghost Hunters? Is that the name of the TV show? Yeah. Taps is the
Taps
team
is the team. Yeah.
I love them because I think they were from around here.
They are. I think that's why I liked it. Yeah. I think they're New England based.
Yeah, they work
or Jersey based or something like that.
Roto Rooter, the plumbers, and then they hunt a ghost at night. They always, to me, had some of the best fringe evidence where it was
sometimes they had really good stuff.
Yeah, where it was and they weren't. I like that they always went in with the mindset of trying to debunk it. Versus
they went in trying to give an explanation as to why things are happening.
Right.
It's you got a draft.
Yeah.
Or
it's always the gas leak.
Or gas leak.
This movie.
Yeah.
The building must have had a gas leak. That's what actually happened.
The Atlantic Paranormal Society. That's what TAP stands for. Yeah, the two originally worked as plumbers for Roto-Rooter as a day job while investigating paranormal. It's so funny because that's basically what. So there's an Amazon Prime show that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost did called Truth Seekers, and it follows Nick Frost's character and another character. They work for I don't know if it's phone or internet, but a service provider basically, and they go to these locations that seem to be kind of spooky, And so, like, Nick Frost's character has a YouTube channel where he, like, does these investigations, but he's so good at his job that he doesn't get in trouble for it.
Oh, okay.
He just kind of does it. It's really good. It got canceled after one season. I thought it was great. I binged the whole thing in one day. It's only, like, 8 or 9 episodes, but it was funny, and it was great. I really liked it. And they had set it up pretty well for a season 2, but can't always win.
Definitely not with Jeff. Jeff. How about one of the things I thought was really cool about this movie was the setting, that hospital they film at. I think it's Riverview Hospital. It's used in other movies a ton.
Yeah.
I got a list right here. So it's been in Supernatural. That's the first time I noticed it. Was like, oh my god, I've seen this before, so I had to look it up. But it's been in Arrow, The X-Files, Happy Gilmore, Smallville, Prison Break, Riverdale, The Butterfly Effect, and a lot of Deadpool 2 was filmed at the hospital. And
there's been an X-Men movie that was also shot there, I think, as well.
But it makes sense. The whole the whole finale of Deadpool, where they're fighting Juggernaut and all that, is all filmed out front of that hospital.
Jesus. Yeah, that's what you get your money for. It was so funny because that's actually over in not in Walpole, but they shot like the first, not First Class. First. One of the newest X-Men movie that had what's her name, Maisie Williams, because I was working at Starbucks at the time when she was filming there, and so she would come through our drive-through, venti ice. Green tea, not sweetened. She got,
that's what she
it was like 2 weeks. That's what she got, and I was usually at the window.
She's listening right
but
now.
But
yeah, that's what I said.
I remember that guy. No, because they also filmed at a state hospital that was nearby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like maybe like Medford or something. I don't fucking remember.
In Spencer,
but yeah, it's like so crazy, like how you can kind of just get these abandoned properties,
right,
to like film shit at. Like I feel like Taunton State would be so good for movies.
Perfect. What do you, I bet you all they have to do is basically just sign off on the fact that like they won't sue if something happens. Like they won't sue the city. I wonder if they actually have to pay for that.
Yeah. Like, well, they filmed part of Shutter Island.
Yeah.
Here, and those buildings were fucked.
They're a mess. Yeah. They're definitely a mess.
And now those buildings don't exist.
Yeah, they knocked a bunch of them down, right?
Knocked a shit ton of them down. But yeah, I think Taunton State would be a great location for a movie like this. That place is so fucking scary. But it's so funny, like how you have this kind of access to do stuff like this. I love the death. I'd love like the whole concept of death awaits. I'm very curious as to who the fuck put that there.
Right.
Like, was that just someone graffitiing to graffiti, or was that
one of the
was that from an entity?
It's so good because it's like the username in the second one that sends out the footage, or is it the producers or the producer? I love too. Is it this one where the Vicious Brothers are interns?
In the beginning? Oh no, there's a sequel. The sequel is they're interns.
Yeah,
they're just like, interns.
Yeah,
you want the Vicious Brothers? Here they are.
That was cool. I love that people like when they do that, throw themselves in the movie in like a stupid role.
But I do like how the movie, when the movie opens, the producer is just like, no, this has been put together from like however many hours of uncut footage. This has not been altered in any way. And then you get like the ghosts. Like I do like that they had like the ghosts be kind of aggressive and physical. Also a little cringe because of like how kind of low effects. Like they have like the woman in the corner, which is one of the most iconic scenes in the entire movie, where she turns and like the mouth opens up, and it's just like, did you just do this in like fucking Photoshop?
Yeah, it looks like a 5-minute Photoshop edit. Or
yeah, like it looks like someone literally just did like a frame by frame manipulation to. Yeah, there's this parts of this movie I'm just like not really. I feel like it drags in some spots. Like it's like they're just hopping around. It's just like it's been 8 hours since the last time I checked my phone, and we're all tired. I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to keep going. And it's just like that, like 7 more times. And they're just like walking around. I do like that they do kind of get into the spooky shit relatively quickly.
Yeah.
You know, they go around, they do the whole ghost hunting thing. Also, I don't know why Sasha, she's like doing her EVP recordings. She's not giving enough time to do the recordings. Right. It's like, what's your name? Why are you here? Yeah. What do you want? Like, no, when an EVP recording, you gotta give it time. You gotta give a big, long wait. Let them answer. It's not, you're not on the phone. Right. You're not on the phone with somebody. Right. Maybe this is why it's her only acting credit.
I think she's actually still stuck at Review Hospital.
She's down there.
Never left.
She's in the tunnels.
She's in the tunnels in Friedkin.
Also, Friedkin, I like they use a name. So that's the name of the director of the oh my god, The Exorcist. Last name, I didn't know that. Friedkin. I imagine that's why there's a connection there. They always do that in horror movies.
Yeah.
Everyone just has names from past horror icons. That's what they did with the Scream franchise. Or at least they did it in the first Scream. I can't really remember other character names from the other Scream movies. I still have to see the new Scream movie now that I think of it. I've heard such good things. I still haven't had it spoiled for me yet at all. So I need to get schmoovin' on that. I was hoping it was just going to be on like a streaming service.
Yeah.
And it's not, because like I've been very kind of sketch on going to theaters recently, even though we went and saw what did we see? Spider-Man.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we were like one of 5 in the theater, I feel like.
Well, we were in the deluxe level. We were up there.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Why we were.
I'm thinking of Halloween Kills.
Oh, Halloween Kills. We were like one of the only people in there.
Spider-Man, there was a lot of people.
Yeah, there was a lot of people in there. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, this movie still is, I think, one. This is one of the movies that got me back into horror movies, like in a really big way. It was this, and it was House of the Devil, and the Poughkeepsie tapes, and like all those movies really just sucked me back into the nebula of horror films. Because like I would watch horror movies like not frequently, but like I would watch them when they would be on TV when I was a kid, and then I would, we would go to the movies a lot in high school, and we'd see horror movies like The Crazies and shit. And then we saw, was it with you? I saw the Evil Dead remake with.
Yes, that was good. I feel
which we did an episode on a couple weeks ago. I
feel like there was just a lull for a long period between maybe like middle school and so probably like 2008 to like 2012, 13, where there wasn't a lot of good horror movies.
It was hard. It was well, it's why like they call it like this, like the second golden age, or like a renaissance of some kind, like starting in 2013, 2014, because then you get the Babadook. Yeah. Which my opinions on that movie. If we ever cover that movie on this podcast, it's gonna be me talking shit for an hour.
It was just the kid screaming for like 90% of it.
It Follows. The Conjuring.
Yep.
Coming up. The Conjuring. Yeah, like around that time you also had Sinister. You had I know these weren't all 2014, but it was all kind of around that kind of time frame. Sinister, you had Insidious.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you had those movies that sparked off a couple trilogies,
you had like that was like in the right in the early 2010s, like 2013 to like 2015. You had VHS.
Oh, great.
The VHS films. Like, so many great movies were all kind of got made at once. But they really did feel like a lull. Because in the late 2000s, early 2010s, you had a lot of remakes. Yeah. You had a lot of reboots. You had plenty of good standalone horror flicks at the time. Like, Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that franchise, they were making movies. And, we liked the first 4.
First 4 were good, and it started to get a little wonky.
Yeah. Even in the 4th one, we only liked the 4th one because we were rooting for the boyfriend. We I fucking love this guy. He can't die. And then he gets smoked.
I feel like you had a lot of just remakes or slashes, too, that just kind of were just kill fests. And they weren't really great. Like, the plot wasn't there.
Yeah. And even then, like, I can do a movie with no plot and some good creative kills, but, like, I don't know. I could do that now. I probably could. I couldn't do it back then.
No, right.
But yeah, like this movie, was relatively, I feel like probably until it was on Netflix, it was relatively unknown outside of like where it was first, being shown. Because it was. Let me see if I pull this up. Grave Encounters was produced. So it was Tribeca. It was a Tribeca Film Festival. It was when it was first released in 2011. So yeah, the budget on this thing was $120,000. Fuck, that is a micro budget.
That's nothing.
That is a micro budget by today's standards, and it made over $5 million.
That's awesome.
Which is why you had a sequel the next year.
Yeah, right.
You know, immediately hit the ground running.
What are the numbers on the sequel? I'm curious if they. I doubt they did as well.
Yeah, I can't imagine it did too hot. So that sequel had a budget of Actually, you know what? Budget of $1.4 million. So they were able to boost those numbers up considerably, 10 times the budget.
Right.
$8.2 million return to the box office. Pretty fucking
good.
good.
Yeah.
Good for a movie that is. Yeah, so Grave Encounters 2 became a commercial success, but unlike its predecessor, it was a critical failure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you got that.
I have a
and it was released on VOD or iTunes on October 2nd. And then like a week or two later, it got its theatrical release. I don't know how many fucking theaters it was released in. Yeah, I can't imagine.
That's awesome, though. I thought they were going to be coming out with the third one. And I think I read somewhere.
We've always heard. I remember we've been like ever since the second one came out and we watched it. Like I think it was like years later. We were just like hearing rumors of the third one being made.
It's coming.
I would love a third movie in this franchise. Like I'm not the kind of guy that is asking for sequels. Like right now, there's a new Texas Chainsaw movie coming out on Netflix on the 18th, and it's like I could do without. I don't really care. It's doing kind of like what the Halloween trilogy did, the newest one, where it starts the new one, which is the same title as the first one.
Of course.
It's a sequel to the first one, and it's set, this many years later. With some original character.
Yeah.
It's not the same actor.
They totally saw the success this new Halloween's having, and
then you just partner up with Netflix to get that money to make sure it gets made. And then there you go. Bob's your uncle.
It's not good, is it?
Yeah, but I would love a third one. I would love a nice little capstone. I thought the setup of the location and Friedkin in the occult in the first one. It carries over well into the second one. It kind of shows even more how kind of powerful things are. It gets more into kind of the occult side of it all. You have like the red door.
I still don't know really what that is.
I don't really know what that is at all.
Explain that, but
no.
I feel like there's a lot left that could be explained or explored.
For sure. Because then you have like the entity, the invisible entity that picks up the camera in the second one and like smashes in that girl's face. But yeah, I feel like a third one could be made and could be done well. And I think it's been a decade since the second. It's literally been 10 years.
That's crazy.
Since the sequel. That's fucked. That's fucking crazy. So I think with enough time has gone by, I think someone has a good idea, a good pitch for a third movie. And I hope I see one someday.
Just give the call to Netflix; they'll have it made tomorrow.
Well, right? Yeah. It's just like, hey, remember when you dropped these two movies on your platform and they got a lot of views? Want to help us make a third one? Because you can just do that. I feel like these days with Netflix. Netflix is just trying to churn out originals, so that way it never has to pay anyone for licensing rights again. Right. Or even on Shudder, I feel like a third one would be a good Shudder exclusive. Because Shudder's done like exclusives of sequels and whatnot, or just tied in for different franchises, like different movies and
that's what VHS was, right? VHS
well, yeah, right. Like the VHS 94, like they picked that up to make the fourth one. That was a big success.
It was pretty good,
huge success. In my opinion, at least. I don't know what the numbers were on that one, what the streaming numbers are.
Did they even release stuff like that? Like, I thought Netflix was in Shudder. I don't know about Shudder, but isn't Netflix pretty, like, hush on how many streams they have of their stuff? Or can you see that?
I think you can see.
You can see.
You could probably find, if not getting the actual number, you can, like, guesstimate how many, depending on, like, what, like, where it's ranked.
Yeah.
And, like, how much it's been seen. Because they always, like, they tell you on Netflix, too. Right. It's just, like, top number one trending right now. Right. Squid Games. Right. Everyone's watching.
Yeah, Squid Games.
How many views? All of them. Still haven't seen that show, actually.
It's not bad. I think you'd like it. It's pretty good.
yeah, things I know I'd like it, and I just like can't get myself to do it.
Yeah, I can't get to watch it.
But yeah, I think I'm tapped out on my what I wanted to say. So let's get into some final thoughts and slap our ratings on this bad boy. You can go first.
All right. I would say overall, I'd give this a 4 out of 5. I really.
We do it out of 4.
Huh?
4. It's out of 4 house.
Oh, then I'll do a 3 out of 4 house.
Right.
I think I mess that up every time I come on here.
It's all right. You and Chris. Chris does it too.
I think it's not perfect, but with, like we just said, the $100,000 budget, I think they did a really good job with what they had. And I actually, when I had to go back and watch this again last week, I really enjoyed it. And watching it for the second time, I picked up on a lot of little things that I hadn't seen the first. So it is definitely a movie you can watch more than once. So, yeah.
I'm in a similar boat. I really loved this movie when it first dropped. I think there are parts of it that are truly kind of scary, or at the very least kind of chilling. The movie works pretty well because as it is breaking down each of the characters, it's breaking you down too, because you start to dread what's going to happen next. I think for the most part, the kills and the deaths are good. Houston's is comical. I'm not really gonna make excuses about that one. But like even like Matt's plunge down down like the shaft, the elevator shaft, I think is pretty brutal, because then like Sasha and Lance have to like walk by, and it's pretty heavy. I think the characters generally actually are pretty entertaining, or endearing in some way. Everyone's kind of got their personalities are set up pretty well in the opening act of the film. I think there really was a lot to be explored on, and I'm very happy that they had a sequel get made for this movie. Like Colby said, like a $120,000 budget, and seeing a return like this, like $5 million, kudos, they earned it. Like I think made a very, if not groundbreaking, not exactly something that changed obviously didn't change the medium, or even really the landscape of found footage horror, but in a time where found footage films were being made just by everyone, this stands on top, I think. So I will also be giving Grave Encounters 3 out of 4 howls. And I want to thank you, Colby, for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure we'll be digging up something that we've both watched in the past again sometime soon.
Well, we could do Grave Encounters.
Could do Grave Encounters too, quite honestly. But again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, listening. As always, I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Have a good night.